As the class was discussing university applications, Kaylin, the most cherished girl, said sweetly, "I want to go to university with everyone. Our study group must stay together forever. Kaylin can't be away from you guys." The class had varying scores, some high, some low, but no one objected. Everyone agreed to her suggestion and even obediently handed over their application login and password for her to manage. In my past life, as the class monitor, I had also obtained everyone's username and password as a contingency plan, but Kaylin cried and accused me, saying she didn't trust me. At that time, my childhood sweetheart, Nolan, coldly snapped, "Can you stop targeting Kaylin for once? Even if your family is rich, you won't be as well liked as she is." I didn't want everyone to ruin their own futures, so I spent 100,000 for each person to retrieve their accounts and passwords, and gave Kaylin a set of jewelry as mental compensation. Right before the application deadline, when I logged in to check, I discovered that everyone's applications had been changed to community college. I quickly logged back into each account, corrected them to the universities best suited to their abilities, and only breathed a sigh of relief when everything was settled. Afterward, Kaylin faked despair, climbed onto the rooftop, threatening to jump, and actually fell. Everyone in the class told me not to blame myself. She brought it upon herself. However, years later, when they had all succeeded, they collectively turned to seek revenge on me. My then-boyfriend, Nolan, even stole confidential documents from my father's company and gave them to a competitor, causing my father's company to go bankrupt. They opened a live stream together, weeping and claiming that they only wanted to remember Kaylin and that I, out of jealousy, had unilaterally changed their applications, causing only Kaylin to be admitted to community college and leading her to take her own life. Netizens were enraged. Someone secretly broke into my house, splashed acid on my parents, and beat me to death. As my soul left my body, I still saw my classmates throwing a celebration party, raising their glasses to successfully avenging Kaylin, and calling me a bitch who deserved to go to hell. I glared at Nolan, who was cheering gleefully. My parents had helped and even promoted him to a managerial position, yet he repaid kindness with enmity. Their laughter cut through my heart like knives, making me hate them so much that I wished to turn into a vengeful spirit to personally slaughter those beasts. Just as I was about to rush toward them, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. "Vera Smith, why are you standing up? Do you disagree with Kaylin's suggestion? Let me tell you, you have no right to object. Don't think just because you're the class monitor you can dictate others' lives." I looked around in shock. The surroundings were surprisingly familiar, and everyone's faces looked younger. An unbelievable thought flashed through my mind. Could I have been reborn? Nolan, seeing my stunned look, demanded impatiently, "I'm talking to you. Are you mute?" I took a deep breath, realizing this was the fateful moment that changed my life. The moment Kaylin asked for the whole class's application accounts. My heart pounded, filled with both fear and joy, yet my face remained calm as I said, "I don't object. I think it's a good idea. It's just that my driver is here to pick me up, so I'm in a bit of a hurry." Hearing this, a satisfied smile appeared on Kaylin's face. Her voice was sweet and sugary as she tilted her head and said coquettishly, "Vera, you should also give me your username and password. I'll help you fill out your application, too." I picked up my backpack and replied coldly, with no regard for politeness. "I only said I don't object. It doesn't mean I'm going to university with you." Kaylin was so affected by my words that tears welled up in her eyes, making her look as fragile as a pear blossom in the rain. Nolan immediately stepped forward, blocking her, and glared at me. "Don't speak so harshly. So what if the Smith family is rich? We might not be worse off than you in the future. I think you're just jealous because everyone likes Kaylin. Apologize to her now or don't blame me for never looking at you again." The whole class looked at me with disdain, waiting for me to weakly bow my head as always. Nolan and I grew up together. I was the young mistress of the Smith family, and he was merely the illegitimate child of the Nolan family. Since childhood, I had always protected him and helped him gain a footing in his family. Gradually, his image had become deeply ingrained in my heart. He had once sworn that he would always care for, love, and look after me, substituting for my busy parents. I once believed we would simply grow up, marry, and live a peaceful life. But ever since he came to this school and met Kaylin, he had completely changed. Nolan began blindly defending her, disregarding right and wrong, and using our relationship to pressure me into submission time and time again. Before, I endured it because I wanted to find the gentle boy from years ago, but now I didn't want to yield to that traitor for a single second longer. I spoke calmly, my voice was ice cold. How about this? Don't come to my house anymore. We are inherently different. No wonder people say you're the illegitimate child who can never hold his head up. Neil Nolan's face froze, and red color spread across his ears. The class gasped, and glances were full of curiosity and contempt focused on him. Being an illegitimate child was not favored here, so he had always hidden his identity. To save his face, I had never mentioned it. Now that I said it directly, he must have felt deeply humiliated. Kaylin immediately hugged his arm, pouting and saying defensively, "Vera, what are you saying? Neil didn't choose to be illegitimate, he's a victim too." That remark moved Neil Nolan so much that he hugged her tightly, as if he had found a place of refuge. I felt sick looking at the scene. Not bothering with another word, I turned to leave. To break the tense atmosphere, a few friends chatted loudly. "Kaylin, where are we going to university in the end? University A has great facilities, and University B has a better study environment. It's so hard to choose." I slightly smirked, feeling only sarcasm. "You people are still dreaming of university? In the end, the whole lot of you will end up at community college together." In the past life, I discovered that Kaylin cheated every time she took an exam. After the university entrance exam, she refused to make her real score public, only boasting about a high score verbally. It was then that my suspicion grew, prompting me to ask for my classmates' accounts as a backup. But now, without my interference, they would all get what they wished for, attending the same community college as Kaylin. I left that despicable place and told my driver to take me to my parents' company. When I opened the office door, I was momentarily stunned to see my parents. They were still young, their hair not yet gray, their eyes were full of vitality. Tears suddenly streamed down my face. My mother saw me, rushed over and hugged me tightly, her voice trembling. "My sweet girl, are you hurt? It's all your parents' fault for not protecting you." I was dumbfounded, my heart racing. Have they been reborn too? I couldn't hold back, bursting into choked sobs in my mother's arms, crying and gasping. "It was me! I misjudged people. I caused your death. Mom, it was all my fault. All my fault." My mother cried and held me tight, soothing me. "It's all right, dear. We don't blame you. It was the fault of those ungrateful wolves." My father hugged both of us, trying to comfort our family of 3. After a while of crying and comforting each other, the family began planning how to take down those white-eyed wolves. My parents decided to leave the company early and drove home so I could rest and prepare the detailed plan. Just as we reached the front door and saw a pair of slippers on the mat, my parents' expressions immediately changed. I asked softly, "Who's visiting?" The maid stammered, "It's young Master Neil. He said he came to help the young mistress handle some things, and he's already gone into the study room." I felt suspicious. Why would Neil Nolan come here instead of being with Kaylin? I quickly ran upstairs and pushed open the study door, finding Neil Nolan sitting in front of the computer, who started and turned around. He frowned, displeased, and reminded me, "You should knock when you enter. You startled me." I replied coldly, "I don't know since when I have to knock in my own home. This is my house, my room, and it's my right to enter whenever I want." As soon as I finished, my father's voice, deep and commanding, rang out from behind me. "And I want to know, who gave you the right to touch my daughter's computer?" Neil Nolan jumped up, spinning around. He clearly hadn't expected my father to be home so early. I immediately pushed him aside, rushed to the computer screen, and my heart sank. He had logged into my application account and changed my chosen university to University A, the one Kaylin wanted to attend. I clenched my fists, my voice shaking with anger. "On what grounds did you change my application? Neil Nolan, do you have any shame left?" My words hit Neil Nolan where it hurt. His face flushed crimson with shame, but he argued stubbornly, raising his voice. "You said you wanted to go to university with Kaylin. I was just helping you change it back. What did I do wrong? Why are you blaming me?" My father couldn't stand it anymore. He took a step forward, his voice was full of fury. "You still dare to argue? Who allowed you to change my daughter's application? Who are you to interfere with the Smith family's affairs? Get out of here right now and never set foot here again. An illegitimate child like you dares to dream of marrying my daughter. You truly don't know your place." Neil Nolan was infuriated by my father's scolding and spat out words full of hatred. "Fine. Then we'll see who's truly worthy in the future. Don't say I didn't warn you. Don't underestimate those who are poor now." As the servant ushered him out of the mansion, Neil Nolan tried to shout by the door until a bucket of dirty water was thrown at him before he finally left. My father looked at me with a mixture of anxiety and resentment. "That boy has always treated you poorly. He seems to be harboring thoughts of revenge. We must be proactive." I nodded and slowly explained the plan I had thought of earlier. In the following days, my mother and I actively prepared, while my father took care of dealing with the business competitors Neil Nolan had cooperated with in the previous life. The class was enthusiastically sharing photos of their travel gatherings in the group chat, enjoying their last few days of freedom. I knew they were just showing off to me, but I remained indifferent. If I wanted to leave the group, I would have done so long ago. Perhaps my coldness provoked Kaylin. I suddenly received a private message from her, a photo of her and Neil Nolan intimately embracing on a bed, covered in vague red marks that made me nauseous. Right after, she sent me a username and password, claiming it was my application account. The message was accompanied by shameless words. Neil said he feels much more comfortable with me. A woman like you? You're probably just like a dead fish in bed. Oh, right, about your application. Everyone agreed that no one wants to go to university with you. So Neil and I discussed it, and we helped you choose a community college that suits you better. You don't need to thank us. I took a screenshot and decisively deleted the message. Although I had mentally prepared myself when I saw Neil Nolan touch my computer, this message still choked me. In this life, I had stayed away from them, yet Neil Nolan still wanted to completely destroy me. How could he be so vicious? After the application deadline, universities began sending out acceptance notifications, but University A, which should have been among the first, was silent, no news for the students in my class who had applied. Some classmates became restless, anxiously asking in the group, "Why hasn't University A sent out notifications yet? Did I not get in? My score was mid-range, now I'm afraid I failed. I wish I had chosen a few more safe options besides University A." This wave of anxiety stirred up the entire group, and many started panicking. Finally, Kaylin spoke up to reassure them. "Don't worry, University A hasn't released the first batch of notifications yet. They probably want to wait until our whole class has results and then make a grand announcement together. Maybe we'll even be on TV." While the class was still daydreaming, the acceptance notifications came in batches, and like a nightmare, all of them were community college admissions. The group chat immediately exploded. "What? Why community college? I clearly applied to University A. Is the system bugged? No way. How can I face my parents now?" When their interests were genuinely affected, the mask of friendship suddenly fell. Panic-stricken and furious messages flooded the chat. They screamed and incessantly called out Kaylin's name. "Kaylin, explain yourself right now. Why were we all pushed into community college? Didn't you help the whole class fill out the applications? My parents are about to kill me." I watched the stream of messages flooding the screen, a faint, cold smile playing on my lips. These people truly brought retribution upon themselves. Perhaps the interview segment they had hoped for would indeed be worth national attention. I really wanted to see how miserable those fools looked. Soon after, Kaylin sent an audio recording in a trembling, almost sobbing voice. I don't understand either. I clearly filled out University A for everyone. Why did the applications become community college? Even mine was changed." Immediately after, Kaylin shifted the blame, her voice shaking and urgent. "I don't know how this happened, but I remember Neil saying he saw Vera's username and password the other day. She's the class monitor and has a wealthy family. It wouldn't be hard for her to get our accounts. Maybe Vera really did it." As soon as her words ended, the group chat instantly erupted. Messages flashed continuously, hundreds of questions pouring in. "Is that true? Neil Nolan, speak up. Did you see her account? Did Vera herself change our applications?" After a moment of silence, Neil Nolan finally spoke. His voice was cold and implying, "Yes, I did see Vera's account on her computer. Since things have come to this, Vera, you should apologize to everyone and pay for the whole class to repeat a year. That will settle the matter." Neil Nolan's words shocked and infuriated the whole group. Everyone was seething. Unconsciously, they believed Kaylin and Neil Nolan. The blame instantly shifted toward me. A bad feeling rose in me. I stood up and left the cafe, intending to rush home. But just as I stepped out the door, I came face to face with my waiting classmates. Their eyes were red with anger. A girl stepped forward and yelled in my face, "Vera, I knew you frequented this place. Apologize to us now. You ruined us." I tried to keep my composure, my eyes scanning past Neil Nolan, who stood behind, pretending to mediate but with a face full of deceit. I gritted my teeth, looked straight at him, and said sharply, "Neil Nolan, don't blame everything on me. What evidence do you have to slander me like this?" As soon as I finished, the classmates rushed forward. They didn't listen to reason, shoving me to the ground and punching and kicking me relentlessly. My head hit the pavement hard, and warm blood began to trickle from my forehead. I clenched my teeth against the pain, trying to shout amidst the chaos. "Neil Nolan has no evidence. If you want to know the truth, go check my home cameras. Everything is recorded. They are the ones slandering me." But no one listened. They continued to vent their fury, hitting and cursing. You hypocrite! So what if you're smart? You're still malicious. You ruined the whole class by sending us to community college. You deserve to die. Passersby saw the commotion and were startled, about to intervene, but Neil Nolan spread his arms and blocked them. His voice was sharp and piercing. Don't interfere. We are just seeking justice. We had the scores for University A and she intentionally changed our applications. She ruined us, so she deserves a lesson. A passerby frowned and asked, Is that true? Did she really do that? Immediately, someone in the crowd chimed in. Their voice was furious. It's true, of course. We studied hard for years, and she, out of jealousy, ruined everyone's future. People like this should pay the price if they don't die. The comment was like adding fuel to the fire, making the surrounding crowd hesitate. No one dared to step forward anymore. They just stood there, watching coldly. At that moment, Kaylin held up her phone to live stream, her face streaked with tears, sobbing as if she were the most pitiful victim. Look, everyone, we studied so hard for years, and because of her, everything is shattered. Who will give us back our future? She always hated me, always intentionally made things difficult for me, and now she's this malicious. We just wanted justice. I really didn't expect her to become so terrifying. As she spoke and wept, tears streamed down her face. The audience on the live stream commented frantically, everyone believing her story to be true, cursing me with the most vicious words. Those words made the mob even more aggressive, and they swarmed around, reviling me as the person who had stolen the entire class's future. Just as I was about to collapse on the ground, police sirens blared. Officers rushed in and separated the crowd. My mother darted forward and held me tightly, shouting with frantic worry. I called the police. Anyone who dares to harm my daughter in the middle of the street should not think they can escape. How can you all claim my daughter changed your applications? If you have evidence, present it. The students, restrained by the police, turned pale. Surprisingly, someone in Kaylin's livestream comments recognized my mother and exclaimed, Wait a minute, look closely. Isn't that Julie? She's a huge star. Why is she here? My mother had retired from the entertainment industry after marriage and maintained a high level of privacy. Hardly anyone around us ever mentioned it. Even Neil Nolan was surprised to learn my mother was once a celebrity. Kaylin blinked repeatedly, clearly flustered. Then suddenly, as if an idea struck her, she quickly used my mother's fame as a life raft, saying tremulously, Even if you are a famous star, it doesn't prove Vera Smith is innocent. Can people with high status not make mistakes? So, but my mother calmly lifted her head, her sharp eyes looking directly at the police, stating clearly, word by word, You can check the surveillance cameras. Everything is monitored 24 hours a day. If you don't find evidence, I will sue Neil Nolan and Kaylin for slander and assault. The atmosphere immediately became tense. Neil Nolan panicked, whispering to Kaylin, Kaylin, what do we do now? Quickly explain. Kaylin opened her mouth, but before she could fabricate anything else, I interrupted them in a voice hoarse and weak from pain. I looked straight into the lens of the media camera that was live streaming. During the break, I only met Neil Nolan once, which was when he secretly broke into my house to steal my application username and password. I paused for a beat, then continued, my determined voice cutting through the crowd. I have camera footage recording everything, both the images and the specific time. Kaylin herself once told me that Neil Nolan gave her the password. The two of them together changed my application to community college. I have all the screenshots and evidence. My evidence had been prepared in advance, and as soon as my face appeared on the live stream screen, the comment section immediately exploded. Wait, isn't that the girl from the reality travel show during summer break? That's right. The top student. The entire show was live streamed throughout the break. I even followed it every day. The show only ended 2 days ago, before the application deadline was over. She was at the filming site the whole time. How could she have time to change anyone's accounts? The discussion completely reversed the situation. Netizens rushed to dig up the show's live stream footage, cross-checking the timing, and a barrage of comments questioning Kaylin appeared. She clearly lied. She's fabricating stories to frame someone else. Kaylin's face turned white, her lips trembling, clearly not expecting the situation to spin out of control. I had anticipated that she wouldn't give up and had prepared everything early. Kaylin was skilled at talking, and she had a group of classmates who still believed her. If I were to argue with them point by point in the dark, I would only fall into their trap. Instead of arguing in the shadows, I chose to expose everything to the light. With my mother's help, I contacted the reality show crew and agreed to let them film my life publicly and transparently. I didn't need fame or views. I only needed the truth to be witnessed by the world. At the same time, my mother posted all the evidence on her official account. The video recording of Neil Nolan sneaking into my house, his arrogant attitude, and the messages he sent to Kaylin, boasting about teaching me a lesson. In just a few minutes, the comment section blew up. Oh my god, these two are beyond saving. They even dared to take bedroom photos and use them to threaten someone else? Absolutely shameless. This Neil Nolan must be crazy. He was scolded by her father and still spouted slogans about not despising the poor like something from a cheap, trashy novel. I heard he's an illegitimate child? Sure enough, the child of a mistress is no good, and he still dreams of marrying a rich young lady. Truly a toad dreaming of eating swan meat. And those students, so incredibly stupid. They dared to hand over their university application password to someone else, believing whatever anyone said and then complaining they were victims. How did they pass the entrance exam with this IQ? The comments flowed wildly. Public opinion had completely shifted. From mere sarcasm, the audience began to viciously attack Kaylin and Neil Nolan. Amidst the angry tide, only Neil Nolan stubbornly defended Kaylin. The classmates had sobered up. They gritted their teeth and demanded, "So what was Kaylin's score? Why hasn't she released her scorecard yet?" I looked at her while Kaylin panicked, avoiding my gaze. Before she could stammer out an evasion, the principal, who was holding his phone and checking the official results, spoke up sternly. "She only scored 234 points, barely enough for community college." "Kaylin, why is your score so different from your previous exams? How do you intend to explain this?" I faintly smirked, waiting for Kaylin to admit to cheating on her exams. But unexpectedly, despite the undeniable evidence, Kaylin desperately struggled, trying to drag me down with her. She pretended to tremble, tears streaming down her face, and knelt before me, slamming her head hard against the floor. "Please, Vera, give me a chance to live. I helped you cheat on your exams so many times. Please don't swap my university exam score too." I stared at Kaylin like I was looking at a madwoman. It wasn't enough that she falsely accused me of changing applications. Now she was fabricating a story that I could swap exam scores? Did she really want to go to prison? I wondered where she got the confidence that I would continue to remain silent and not expose her. Kaylin continued her act, tears pouring down her face. "You are a rich young lady, and I'm just an ordinary person. Only the university exam can change my fate. When I saw you switch my score, I was truly desperate. I could only change everyone's applications to make this whole thing come out into the open." At that moment, the surroundings exploded into chaos. Whispering, shouting, and heated discussions erupted. Everyone turned to talk, their eyes shifting, suspicion, pity, and doubt mixing together. I just stood still, calmly watching Kaylin prostrate herself on the floor. My heart was cold as ashes. Because from the moment she knelt, I knew the loser wasn't me, but her. Kaylin was digging her own grave with her lies. Kaylin's trembling voice sounded through the suffocating air, like the cry of a drowning person. "Please, Vera, give me back my score. I just want to live. Please." A few classmates' eyes began to waver, slowly turning into looks of pity mixed with infatuation toward Kaylin, who was sobbing miserably on the ground. I laughed, a cold sound that echoed through the crowd. My voice was full of sarcasm. "On what grounds do you think my family can swap university exam scores? This is National Higher Education Entrance Examination, not a game where you can change scores at will." Kaylin didn't answer, only continuing to bang her head, tears and snot mixing, her voice intermittently pleading. "I was wrong, Vera. I know I made a mistake. Please forgive me." The heavy thuds of her head hitting the floor momentarily silenced everyone. Then the commentary on the live stream started to shift again. Could it really be that Vera Smith swapped the score? If so, that's too malicious. Poor Kaylin. The Smith family has so much power. Can they do whatever they want? Call the anti-corruption investigation team. Let's see if they are hiding anything. On one side was Kaylin's desperate wailing, and on the other, the blind outrage of the netizens. Standing in the eye of the media storm, I only found it amusing. They were too easily convinced. Just a few fake tears were enough to make them point their spears at the innocent. The more I listened, the more ridiculous I found it. Kaylin's words were too outrageous. At this moment, Neil Nolan rushed over, helped Kaylin up from the ground, his voice trembling but still trying to maintain an air of righteousness. "Vera, how could you become like this? You are a rich young lady who has everything. Why are you fighting with someone who has nothing, like Kaylin? Give her back the score. Can this matter be over?" His voice echoed in the silent atmosphere, weak and deceitful. He didn't dare look at me. His eyes were evasive, yet his words sounded decisive, as if wanting to nail me to the pillar of shame. I looked straight at him, a faint sneer on my lips, my heart filling with a bitter taste. This person had witnessed me pull all-nighters studying, and I had personally tutored him on every topic. His scores were thanks to my guidance, yet now he dared to accuse me of stealing scores? I took a deep breath, then spoke clearly, word by word, my voice calm and firm. If there is such suspicion, then let's retest. Everyone was stunned. I looked up, my eyes sharp. I propose we open the backup exam paper, let Kaylin and me retake the test once to prove my innocence. Silence descended, broken only by Kaylin's rapid breathing. She immediately panicked, her face pale, cold sweat breaking out. She shook her head repeatedly, stammering, "No, impossible! Your family has so much power you could change any score you want. How can that test be fair?" I looked at her, smiled slightly. My voice was slow and chilling to the bone. "Oh, so you're afraid of retaking the test? Is it because you know very well that you won't be able to cheat this time?" Kaylin screamed, trying to avoid my icy gaze. Seeing this, Nolan seized the opportunity, leaning closer, his voice pleading, "Vera, come on, just let Kaylin have this one. She knows she made a mistake, I beg you. If you just admit you were wrong, I will break up with her and marry you immediately. I swear I won't change my mind." I looked at Nolan. My eyes were full of disgust. How ridiculous. Did he think I would endure humiliation and a bad reputation for him? The thought of having loved such a contemptible person made me sick. I curled my lips and said calmly, "Fine. Aren't you afraid of my family's power? Then let's livestream the retest so the whole country can monitor who dares to cheat." That statement stunned Nolan. His face went pale. He hadn't expected me to be so straightforward. Under the direct scrutiny of millions of eyes, Kaylin gritted her teeth and agreed. The incident caused such an uproar that the government intervened, sending high-level officials to supervise the special retest. Before entering the exam room, I smiled and reassured my parents. After this, our company's reputation is going to skyrocket. Inside the exam room, there were only 2 candidates, with millions watching on screen. The atmosphere was suffocatingly tense. I had mastered the material long ago. Even without review, all the knowledge was imprinted in my mind. As soon as I received the paper, I quickly started working, my handwriting neat, my steps firm, utterly confident. In contrast, Kaylin was flustered. She took 10 minutes just to think about a multiple-choice question, her face contorted, her hands trembling. She intentionally leaned over to peek at my paper, but was immediately warned by the strict invigilator. No further explanation was needed. Everything was crystal clear. The online comments were raging. "What is this? How did she get into the top student class? She got caught on just the 3rd multiple-choice question. I graduated 3 years ago, and I'm faster than her. Vera is truly a top student. She writes fast and neatly. It's a pleasure to watch her exam paper. The invigilator is even praising her." I sat there calmly taking the test, knowing in my heart that I didn't have to fight for justice today. It was coming to me on its own. Kaylin tried to claim someone swapped her score and that I was crazy, but before the end, the truth was laid bare. Although the procedure had to be completed, everything was now clear. My score was nearly identical to my actual exam score, while Kaylin's score was 30 points lower than her original score, a clear indication that excessive partying during the break had eroded her knowledge. I left the exam room feeling serene. I was waving and smiling at my parents on the staircase when their faces suddenly went cold. My mother loudly warned, "Watch out behind you." Kaylin, her eyes bulging with madness, lunged forward, slapped me hard, and tried to push me down the stairs. I managed to dodge, and security guards appeared just in time to restrain her. I sighed in relief, grateful that security had been meticulously arranged by the authorities. Kaylin struggled furiously, cursing me relentlessly. "You're truly a bitch! You've lived so well, so you should suffer the consequences for us, you vile person! You should go to community college with us!" In front of the cameras and media, I let her scream, calmly walking toward my parents. This was the moment. The Smith family should receive the most attention. I couldn't let Kaylin embarrass my family. Back home, my mother hugged me tightly, looking at the bandaged wound on my head with pity. "Leave this to your parents. We will make them pay." Just as I sat down on the sofa, the wound still throbbing, the Nolan family appeared, carrying gift baskets and flattering us nonstop. The middle-aged man leading them bowed low, his voice ingratiating. "I am truly sorry, truly sorry." This time, Neil was completely misled by that girl Kaylin, momentarily confused. "I hope Mr. Walter and Miss Vera can find it in your hearts to forgive him and not hold a grudge against a foolish child." Nolan followed, kneeling down in the middle of the living room. His voice was weak and choked. "Uncle Walter, I was wrong. I know I made a mistake. It was Kaylin who tricked me. I didn't intentionally harm Vera. Vera, I truly love you. Can you forgive me?" I looked straight at him without saying a word, only laughing dismissively enough to make him bow his head in shame. Beside me, my father spoke coldly. His voice was deep and firm as a blade. Neil, the Smith family has never needed people to beg on their knees for pity. Do you think a few apologies and a gift basket are enough to cover the fact that my daughter was harmed, her honor tarnished, and her life almost taken? Feelings cannot cover mistakes, and the Nolan family will have to pay through the law. When he finished, the living room fell silent. The air was heavy with tension. The Nolan family bowed their heads, not daring to say another word. Neil Nolan's face momentarily hardened. His eyes turned cold from the humiliation. I looked on, only feeling a faint, bitter smile. He knew well who treated him kindly, who endured a bad reputation for him, yet he ultimately betrayed me. I thought to myself, a dog, even if fed well, will eventually turn back and bite the hand that fed it. If that's the case, let him return to the trash heap where he belonged. In the following days, I stayed home to heal. My parents successively filed lawsuits against everyone involved. The news exploded everywhere, and public opinion was fervent. The entire former class was reviled so fiercely that they didn't dare go out. Many families were affected, some even losing their jobs due to the fallout. Although they claimed Kaylin tricked them into giving her their passwords, the law clearly stated that the accounts and passwords were provided voluntarily, so they had insufficient grounds to request application changes. If I hadn't intervened, they would have been destined for community college in this life, or if they could withstand public pressure, they might retake the exam next year. But before everything was settled, they would all be summoned for slander and intentional assault. I was sitting lost in thought when a gentle knock came at the door. The butler bowed and said, "Miss, someone is asking to see you." I took a breath, preparing to face the meeting, whatever its meaning. I frowned, and the butler understood, softly saying, "If the miss does not wish to meet them, I will ask them to leave." I thought for a moment, then stopped him, answering calmly, "No need. I want to see what scheme they're planning." Outside the gate was a crowd, not just former classmates, but their parents too. A few in the group awkwardly bowed, murmuring, "We are sorry, we didn't mean to. Kaylin tricked us." Everyone was panicked and irrational at the time. "Vera, could you please speak to your father and ask him not to sue us? If we go to prison, we'll have nothing left and we won't be able to retake the exam." I looked at them. The faces that had once ganged up on me and beat me in the street were now bowed low in fear. I smiled faintly, pointed to the still bandaged wound on my forehead, and said, "Because you were irrational, you could assault someone. Did I deserve to be kicked on the street? When you were punching and kicking me, did you think about what would happen to me afterward?" The crowd fell silent. No one dared to reply. From the corner, someone whispered, "But you can't blame us entirely. You and Kaylin had a grudge. We didn't know." I replied coldly, "Didn't know? But I told you and you didn't listen. You just followed whatever she said. Did any of you think yourselves?" The classmates bowed their heads in silence. However, the parents behind them started murmuring arrogantly, "Young lady, don't be so petty. You're all classmates. Give each other some space. My whole family lost their jobs because of this. You should be lucky that we aren't asking your family for compensation. Withdraw the lawsuit. That's right, or we'll make a scene and ruin your company's reputation." I looked at them, feeling sick, like father, like son, indeed. Not bothering to argue, I looked up at the wall where a surveillance screen was showing them shouting and threatening right outside the gate. I smiled, my voice calm yet cold. "The camera here is live. I'm thinking the penalty for threatening a victim must be more severe than the crime of assault, right?" As soon as I finished, I immediately sent the video clip to social media for everyone to see. Their faces turned pale. They grew flustered and quietly retreated in shame. The legal team my father hired was excellent. They ensured that everyone received a fitting judgment. Although the sentences weren't severe, they left criminal records. Schools refused to allow them to retake exams, and job and civil service opportunities were blocked. They would never achieve the status they had in their past lives. Their futures were effectively ruined. As for Neil Nolan, despite his heavier crimes, the Nolan family managed to bail him out. I vaguely heard they handed him over to a boss with peculiar preferences just to gain forgiveness. A person like him truly deserved to be tormented by others. Kaylin, on the day the retest concluded, was taken away by authorities for making false statements and fabricating stories that affected the credibility of the national exam. The state would deal with her appropriately. As I was contemplating her deserved fate, my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered. The voice on the other end stunned me. It was Neil Nolan. He spoke tremblingly. Vera, I know I was wrong. I sincerely apologize. How did we come to this point? Our feelings for each other were so good before. I asked coldly. So tell me, what did I do to you? You tried to cause my death and my family's ruin just to defend Kaylin, and now you dare to ask me why? There was silence on the other end for a few seconds, then a low, hoarse voice. You are a young lady, and I am just a bastard child. You pitied me. That's why you were nice to me. You always look down from above. I know I'm not worthy of you. So. I gripped the phone, my eyes freezing over. I spoke softly, my voice cutting through the night. Yes, you are not worthy. Not only are you unworthy of me, but you are also unworthy of being human. Neil Nolan suddenly hissed, but if one day you fall into the mud, then you and I will be equals. I was stunned, my eyes were wide, unable to believe what I had just heard. It turned out he didn't genuinely love Kaylin. He just wanted to drag me down into the mire because he couldn't reach me. I had been sincere for so many years, yet I never expected the person I trusted most was only waiting for the opportunity to turn and bite back. How ridiculous. I gave my whole heart, and he used his entire mind to plot. Neil Nolan continued, his voice choked over the phone. I will change, Vera. I will treat you well. Can we start over, please? I laughed and replied, That's impossible, Neil Nolan. You disgust me. I never want to see you again. I decisively hung up, not giving him another chance. After thinking for a moment, I called the butler and asked him to help me switch to a new phone number. I didn't want any contact with the past anymore. However, I still found it strange that the Nolan family let Neil Nolan roam free. When I asked, my father only replied coldly, The Nolan family is being driven to a corner by us lately. They probably don't have the energy to manage him. To be safe, stay home for a while. I obediently stayed put in the mansion, never anticipating that Neil Nolan had truly gone insane. He used the excuse of visiting a friend to lure Kaylin, who was out on bail, and tied her up on a rooftop, starting a live stream watched by millions. Seeing his distorted, psychotic face on the screen sent shivers down my spine. Neil Nolan spoke and laughed. His eyes were full of sickness. Vera, you're watching, aren't you? I know I was wrong. I apologize. I will atone. Only you were truly kind to me. That damn old man was planning to sell me to someone else. It's all this woman's fault. If it weren't for her, we could have gone back to how we were, right? Before I could react, Neil Nolan held up a bottle of acid and screamed, I'll kill her! I'll take revenge for you! Then he hurled the acid straight at Kaylin. She shrieked, the agonizing sound echoing across the live stream. The acid burned her face, but also severed the ropes that bound her. She lunged, frantically shoving Neil Nolan. The two struggled and then fell from the rooftop together. Millions of viewers watched live, and the stream shook the entire media network. The incident quickly caused a national sensation, bringing utter disgrace to the Nolan family, and all their previous illegal activities were unearthed. Soon after, the Nolan family officially went bankrupt, were investigated, and vanished from the upper class. I did nothing, only watching silently as everything unfolded. In this life, everyone who had harmed me received their rightful ending. On the day I received my university acceptance letter, I walked through the gate of my dream university, pulling my suitcase. The brilliant sunlight shone down, a cool breeze brushed through my hair, and all the darkness of the past dissolved as if it had never existed. I smiled and took a deep breath. Finally, I could begin a new life, clean and free.